Hi again, everyone. I'm olliemathews. This is Societal Narcissism. No contribution with this video. But before I get to the content, please go to the description box and click on the Rumble link. I ask everybody to watch over on Rumble. I'm still monetized there, and it'll help out with the channel. So, I actually need to respond to one of the comments in the comments section. And this is not retard of the day. So, that's not what this is, but it is something I want to respond to, because I think we've kind of been wanting to get into it a little bit anyway, talking about Gen X. And this was a response to narcissistic boomers are a hive mind. This is from Glorious Eagle 69. I'd argue Gen X is complicit. They are flying monkeys. They aren't challenging boomers. They aren't saying upend Social Security. They are banking on coasting on the same silver spoon. That isn't true. Let me explain. Let me tell you why Gen Xers don't say anything about Social Security. Because we, as Gen Xers, have been told Social Security will not be there. It'll be insolvent. It's a pyramid scheme since grade school. One of the reasons they used to tell us why we had to study and go to college or we're going to be a big loser and make a lot of money is because Social Security wasn't going to exist. See, back in the 70s and 80s, there weren't many boomer teachers around. They were mostly World War II generation. I didn't have my first boomer teacher until high school, actually. They're all World War II generations, my teachers. And the ones who would talk about it, and there was a few of them, were quite honest. They said Roosevelt started Social Security. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a pyramid scheme. It's never going to work. It's going to collapse. Now, it was already supposed to have collapsed 20, 30 years ago. It should have already collapsed. But the boomers, now once they got in charge of the government, they kept taking from other areas to keep funding it over and over and over again to make sure the boomers have their money. Gen X has long accepted since grade school that there is no Social Security. That has been pounded into our core, into our heads since grade school. We know. It's obvious. And by the time we got our hands into anything, it was long gone. It's long past saving. They aren't saying upend Social Security. They are banking on coasting on the same silver spoon. That's not true. They have been quiet about mass migration, wars, endless harassment of millennials. They were playing the same boomer game of the 2008 housing buyout. Okay, there's a lot going on here. First of all, understand who Gen X is. The beginning of Gen X was 1965. The end is 1980. Did anything of significance pass? In 1964 and 1965? Oh, man, you're complaining about mass migration. Oh, that's right. The Civil Rights and Immigration Act was finally ratified in 1965, just in time for Gen X to be born. So just as Gen X is being born, they begin flooding the country with mass migration. So we only know a country that's just filling up more and more and more with immigrants. I remember my mother saying when I was a little kid, 4 or 5, 6, being in a store, getting all these foreigners, all these effing foreigners, all these. I didn't know what she meant. Now I do. The endless harassment of millennials. Right. You know why you were harassed? You were harassed by your later in life boomer parents. Well, let me read the rest of this. The endless harassment of millennials, they were playing the same boomer game in the 2008 housing buyout. No, we weren't. Well, let me finish. Gen X is honorary boomers in spirit and behaviors. They're just as obnoxious Karens in person, but will die on the hill that some random African has the right to a free house on millennials' tax. Well, I'll say this. I mean, as far as the millennials' tax go, you millennials aren't making, and this isn't a knock on you, you're not paying that much in tax because you're not making that much. It's still the boomer tax. I mean, you're still paying your taxes. But let's pick up with the endless harassment of millennials. Okay? So in 1965, you have the mass influx of immigration. Year one of Gen X. Then what do the boomers start demanding? The boomers start demanding a pill so they won't get pregnant with us. And then the ones who couldn't get the pill or weren't responsible enough to use it or even responsible enough to pull out or, God forbid, keep freaking legs closed, well, they demanded to abort us. They demanded to rip us out of the womb and abort us. You wonder why Gen X is so small? They aborted about a third of us, the boomers. And then when the boomers kind of got a little bit older and they realized they don't have enough kids and they don't have enough to keep them occupied, they start popping out millennials in their late 30s, early 40s. And the millennials have a completely different experience with their boomer parents because now their boomer parents are all over them. Whereas they were completely neglectful of Gen X, didn't know where we were from the age of 2 to 14. Now we're getting interesting again in our teen years, but they realize that's going to be pretty fleeting too because the teen doesn't really want to have anything to do with the parent. I need to do this right from the start, right from birth, be involved instead of just letting them run the streets and drink out of hoses and who knows what they're doing. I'm going to be involved in every aspect of their life now. That's the millennial experience. Now, as far as the same boomer game of buying of the 2008 housing buyout, listen, we got to go back to right after, and we're not even going to get into what 9/11 did to Gen X. Having us over there, watching us, okay, I'm 18, I'm a senior in high school. Now we got to start dicking around in the Middle East. Now all the Gen Xers who they were telling us, don't go into the military, you'll be a loser. Now all those losers got to go into the military and possibly step on an IED or God knows what. So you get 9/11, and then when 9/11 happened, there was this desperate push. You got to buy a house. You got to buy a house. You got to buy it. If you're young, and they're lowering interest rates, and they're getting these boomers. And these boomers are seeing the housing money going up, the prices of the houses going up. And these boomers who bought their houses for 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand are selling them now for 200 grand, 300 grand, 400 grand, $500,000. And what are and those are just average houses. And what do the boomers do with that money once we bought those houses off them? Did they go and downsize and move to Florida, move to Arizona, and move to South Carolina or North Carolina? No, they went out and they bought, like Tim Dillon says, McMansions. They bought bigger houses and bigger boats and more things, more resources to buy up, while Gen X languished in their overpriced old small houses, okay, and they won't leave. Understand something. Gen X has been the fulcrum point for all of this societal change since 1965. All of it. We have been the throwaway generation. This is why we're barely even mentioned. They flooded the country with immigration. They demanded a pill to keep themselves from getting pregnant with us. And when they got pregnant with us, they went to the Supreme Court to demand to abort us. And you wonder why we come off as obnoxious in person? We're not obnoxious. And understand, we saw through our boomer parents since we were kids. Gen X, those of us who were running the streets, doing what we were doing, hanging out with our friends, and our parents didn't give fuck all about us. Okay? We knew our parents were completely full of shit. Every kid kind of thinks their parent is full of shit, but we knew they were full of shit. We knew that they said one thing and did something and lived their lives completely different. They were complete and total fucking hypocrites. And we even had teachers that told us that. Mr. Fisher, my 5th grade teacher, had a hand grenade go off next to his head in a foxhole, wore two hearing aids, used to talk about the communists, and you're all going to have to fight and die one day. And then one day he comes in, I can't talk about the commies anymore because one of you went home and cried to your parents, and when one of your commie parents came and complained to the principal. Like, he was like that. And he would say, your parents, there's something wrong with your parents. And then we have like a conversation, like we don't... 5th grade, Mr. Fisher, we talk about it like they do one, my parents do this, and then they do that, and we're like, and he said, like, I feel bad for the future for you kids. He was one of the ones that was always talking about Social Security, hammered it into our head. He wasn't the only one. Social Security will not be there when you guys get to be the age. He goes, it might not even, he's like, it won't even be there for your parents. But he never thought the boomers would go to the lengths that they went to in order to make sure that they got every cent and more. You have to understand, Gen X is about you think we're being nasty, you think we're being obnoxious. We've just had it. We've had it with all of the bullshit. We were the scapegoat. We were the black sheep generation. We were the generation that they were going to blame all society's problems on. You can't argue with the dates. You can't argue with the dates and the numbers. 1965. You're complaining about mass migration. And Gen X, well, that's when they started mass migration, 1965. Then they demanded the birth control pill so they could avoid having us. And then when they had us, they demanded to be the right to kill us. But we'll still die on that hill that some random African has the right to a free house on millennials' tax. Why should anybody have, whether it's an African or anybody, there's no such thing as a free anything. Why do you want to pay for anybody who offers no value to society and tries to give nothing to society? Why are you okay? Why would you want to give anybody like that, regardless where they're from, your tax money? Why? Not worried about. Listen, everybody's paying. Everybody's paying and everybody's struggling. America first means America first. Not giving away anybody's, whether it's millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, or even boomer money. Though they don't deserve it, though they should. In theory, but giving anybody anything for free doesn't help them, does it? Just seems to make matters worse. You don't understand the experience of being raised Gen X. You just don't. Think about that. None of that's coincidental. None of those dates and the time they did it. And we can go right back to 1954 again. The censure of Joe McCarthy. 10 years later, civil rights and immigration, they're mass importing third world incompatible people into the country. And it has been doing, and they've been doing that since 1965. So if we come off of as obnoxious, oh well. And I got it. You had a very bad experience with the boomers too. Different experience. Not minimizing the millennial experience either, because what the millennial experience was an overcompensation. And they weren't overcompensating like, I want to be a good mother or a good parent now. They were overcompensating to make up for all the fun they think they missed out with their Gen X kids that they neglected or aborted. Facts. Sorry, not sorry. So I hope that kind of glorious eagle, I hope that kind of clears up a little bit of these misconceptions you have about these things like Social Security. And we have been told since grammar school, these teachers were using Social Security being insolvent as a reason to hammer that square peg into that round college prep hole. Because there's going to be no retirement. There's going to be no Social Security. So I hope that makes sense to you, and at least that clears up and gives you at least some perspective of why Gen X is so pissed. And they've had it, and we see them aloof, indifferent, obnoxious, because we've heard it all. They've told us every freaking conceivable lie. They have deliberately influxed the country with incompatible people. They tried to prevent from having us. They demanded to abort us. And then just as we're coming to age, they tried to take over our lives. And then when we're becoming adults, they start foreign wars that they will have us go and fight. And then they cause a financial crisis, selling all their shitty overpriced houses to us, and then going and upgrading themselves to these McMansions that you'll never afford and they'll never leave, and they can hold over your head. So I hope that kind of gives you a little bit more of a broader perspective of why Gen X is so pissed. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, something you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with either the Cash App, Zelle, PayPal, and email links in the description box below. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. Also, be sure to subscribe to both channels on Rumble. If you haven't watched over there, please do. Even a click helps. Follow me on X and Telegram as well. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been Societal Narcissism. Take care, everyone.